Now let's do some discussions. I have my guests already seated. And Nenyi Georganda. He's a member of parliament for the Ewutu Senya West constituency, but also a deputy minister of communications. And Nenyi, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning to your viewers and good morning to my brother.
Yeah. And so he's here with Adam Mutawakilo. He's a ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee. You will by now know that some prices have been fluctuating at the pumps currently. Already the reports are out there that we've already had some hikes in the petroleum prices. Well, he's also a member of parliament for Damango. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Damango is part of the new region to be created.
Yes.
Which region is that?
Savannah region.
Savannah.
Yes.
They've had due consultation with all of you, so you're happy?
Yeah.
Right.
We are very happy. It's just the registration process. I think there are challenges.
Which one? The Electoral Commission?
Yeah. Having it at only the EC's office.
You mean for the whole constituency?
For the whole constituency.
But it's supposed to be a limited registration exercise.
Yeah, but the numbers are great. And sometimes you bring people from the communities. At the end of the day, they are not able to register them. Either you have to send them and bring them back the next day, or you have to get a place for them to sleep overnight and you have to feed them. So
you started that already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But so far, smoothly, it's going on very smoothly, except these few challenges. Yeah.
I think we need to create more education, at least for those in Accra also, and the other cities and towns. We have more people registering so that we don't flood the gates when it comes close to the election or the election year, so to speak. But let's move on. There's a story occupying the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. It's good that we have Nenyi Georganda here with us. He's a Deputy Minister of Communications, and rightfully, he will explain the issues to us and answer the questions as they come. It's a story written by Edmund Smith Asante. It says Ghana's attempt to transition from analog to digital is set to meet another major snag. That's the intro to the story already. We've done some transition so far. We've not fully done it. It's called the DTT, basically an acronym for Digital Terrestrial Television. And well, the story seems to say that GIBA, that's the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, is worried that StarTimes, that's the operators of the Chinese pay TV, they have been given the right, so to speak, to do the full migration as it is, but there's a certain history to it. And it's good that we have the Deputy Minister here. Good morning to you, Nenyi. What's the background to the story in the first place?
In the first place, I just want to clarify that yesterday I received a call from this gentleman from Graphic. In the afternoon, I was in the middle of a meeting.
You mean Edmund Smith Asante?
Yes, I was in the middle of a meeting, and he said he wanted to have a discussion on GIBA's concerns regarding the DTT. Now, that is a very big subject. So I told him that he should come to the office and that there was a scheduled officer and we'll give him a proper briefing. He never showed up. Only for me to see in this today's publication that he called and I said that if he likes, he should come to the office, as if I was unwilling to engage or provide the information. I think that is most unprofessional and it is very wrong. I don't expect this from a journalist, more so from a newspaper like Graphic. They should have done the honorable thing. Okay, it is clear that I told him to come into the office for the full briefing and he refused to come. Maybe he has his agenda. But another fact that I want to establish is that there is no arrangement to hand over the management of the National Digital Terrestrial Television infrastructure to StarTimes to manage. Indeed, there's a company that has been registered, the Central Digital Transmission Company. The company is going to have the board of directors having representatives from GIBA, having representatives from the government of Ghana, having representatives from various stakeholders, okay, including the National Media Commission that are going to manage this infrastructure. So I think that either Graphic are misinformed or GIBA are misinformed, and based on that, they are panicking. We have had a number of situations where indeed, even in building the in working on the DTT policy, we have had GIBA provide input into the DTT policy. Recently, they sent somebody about some of these concerns, and we responded to GIBA and said we'll be engaging them shortly. What we are doing right now is that KNET has built the infrastructure for DTT. There are 42 sites that have been built and are transmitting. Most of these sites were not connected to dedicated power. And so you have a situation where today there's a site operating or transmitting as a point A. Tomorrow some welder comes to build his welding shop, and the quality of power suddenly degrades, and it affects the quality of the equipment. And so we took a decision that we're going to ensure that all of these sites were connected to dedicated power from ECG. And we had dedicated transformers that KNET provided, okay? And that is ongoing. NETCO is taking care of the northern sites. ECG has completed the southern sites. We looked at the infrastructure that was available. 40 channels that had all been full. NCA is receiving requests every day from individuals and institutions that want to be able to participate. The channels are full. Okay, there's currently no redundancy for the national DTT infrastructure that is there. There is no recording, there's no creative recording studio. Okay, and these are elements, including the enhancement of the network, these are elements that are required. And so what we decided to do was to look at how we can enhance the network, move the number of channels from 40 to 100. And within those 100, include high definition channels, okay? So that it's not just standard definition transmission that Ghanaians are going to enjoy, but if there's a broadcaster that wants to transmit premium, okay, he can transmit through that medium. And then there was also the situation where StarTimes had taken the government of Ghana to court for, in their view, the wrongful termination of the contract by the MOC in 2010. And obviously, we're paying very high legal fees, and upon the advice of the legal team, it was decided to try and seek a settlement and for us to be able to access this Exim Bank facility. So once we receive the necessary approvals and it goes through Cabinet, it goes through Parliament, then StarTimes' role is to enhance the network. It's not about managing the DTT network.
So StarTimes, initially they were given the contract to have this infrastructure in place, right?
Yes.
Okay. Were they able to deliver?
Well, that contract was terminated. The contract was terminated because the MOC at that time felt like they didn't have the capacity to execute. But that's the case that was sent to court, for which I said that it was going through this arbitration, and I mean there were very high fees that were associated with it. And in reviewing the case, it wasn't something that we wanted to pursue because it was. They seem to have had a just cause. Okay.
So how do the two parties, the two entities, all providing almost like services, coexist?
No, they are not. Somebody is building the infrastructure. Okay.
So KNET now has built the infrastructure.
KNET I think their work is about 95% complete.
So the role of StarTimes will be?
Listen, it is dependent on us getting the right approvals. Okay, if we don't get the right approvals, that bit doesn't come in. But the whole idea is to get the right approvals to be able to enhance the network, and that means that we'd have to access the Exim Bank facility to increase the number of sites from 40 sites to 60 sites.
And hearing StarTimes' role will be in all this to be what?
Will be to enhance the network. It has nothing to do with the management of the network. The operations and management of the network is going to be handled by the Central Digital Transmission Company. It has been registered, it hasn't yet been operationalized, but that is what it is. So there's absolutely no truth that StarTimes are going to.
Okay, so this is the quote. This is the quote by Edmond Smith Asante. That's for the graphic story by GIBA. If StarTimes is allowed to control both Ghana's only digital television infrastructure and the satellite space in the name of digital migration, Ghana would virtually submit its broadcast space to a foreign control and control.
There's no truth in there. It's a baseless statement. There's no element of truth in there. You see, I think that there's confusion between the DTT infrastructure and there's a project, the satellite TV project that StarTimes are embarking on. StarTimes...
Is that not their own private initiative?
Yeah, but so let me explain. So StarTimes through the Chinese government through StarTimes gave a grant to to a number of African countries where 10,000 communities were going to benefit from a package for digital television transmission or digital television experience. Now, Ghana benefited with 300 of these communities. So as of now, there's work ongoing with StarTimes and the implementation team to identify and do the proper coordination. Each of these 300 beneficiary villages would have a public viewing center where StarTimes would provide the digital TV and then 2 solar projectors for the public viewing center and then a decoder. In addition, there'll be 20 households from each identified, each targeted or each identified community that will benefit from the StarTimes decoder free of charge. You have to buy your own digital TV. So you would get 6 months transmission of StarTimes' broadcast free of charge. Okay, probably that is what GIBA think. That
did you engage GIBA?
What
in the latest comeback of StarTimes, knowing that you are engaging them in arbitration as they have taken the government of Ghana to
GIBA is a key stakeholder as far as DTT.
And your key stakeholder is raising the serious
Can I ask a question? Can I please answer? GIBA is a key holder as far as the DTT engagement or the DTT migration process is concerned. And we do consider their inputs extremely valuable. Okay, we have engaged GIBA on a number of times. As of now, what we are doing is the commissioning of the sites, okay, to dedicated power. Okay, we haven't officially switched on yet. GIBA provided input into the draft DTT policy. Okay, and I believe that as recently as last week, GIBA was written to that we're planning a stakeholder engagement with them and then would confirm to them when we could meet. So there hasn't
According to GIBA, you're forcibly trying to make this whole comeback come to pass.
Well, I've told you that the information upon which GIBA is making these statements,
expressing these
it doesn't hold. There's no truth. There's no truth to it.
Very well. Well, I'm sure the times will unfold, so we'll see how it goes. But at the fuel stations, the prices, I'm sure they'll be recalibrating. Is that the term that is used? You're a ranking member of the Mines and Energy Committee. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
Now let's talk about fuel price increment.
Yeah.
It's been staring in our faces for a number of weeks now. We had anticipated it. Yesterday, there was a story carried by the Public Agenda newspaper that had given an indication that we're likely to see a hike. Now, let's get a background to this. We know we have deregulation, etc.
Yeah, deregulation, we have not totally deregulated the petroleum downstream. However, it's partially deregulated. And if you look at the trend now, we have a lot of factors that contribute to the petroleum price increase. We have geopolitical factors, we have when the international oil price increase, and some is as a result of inability to manage our local currency vis-a-vis foreign currencies, especially the US dollar, as is one of the basic currency used in the trading of oil. Now, this, over the period, depreciation of our cedi contributes significantly to the fuel price increase. That means the incompetence of a government to ensure that the cedi remains stable or stronger, their inability to do that is being transferred to the ordinary consumer to pay. And that is where we have I have a very big question. So this current price increase, one of the significant factors is because our cedi is unstable. We are not able to control the cedi as against our foreign currencies and therefore the dollar. And as a result, petrol increased by 4.1%, diesel increased by 5.5%. And I think that government must stop transferring their inefficiencies on ordinary consumers. That is one part. Now, about 45% of this, our petroleum price builder, is made up of taxes. And then we now zero in on some of the taxes. Do we need to have them today? I think that the special petroleum tax, we don't need.
If you look at all those indicators, which one should we take up?
Special petroleum tax must go off. Totally. Why am I saying that it must go off? This was a stopgap measure. You know, we sell crude, and every year in our budget, the government tells us how much we'll sell our crude and the quantity we'll sell. Now, in 2015, the budget indicated that we'll sell our crude at $99 per barrel. In the course of the year, the price dropped to $28 per barrel. So if you want to sell something at 99 and you're actually selling it at 28, you are making losses. Meanwhile, you have tied school buildings, you have tied roads, you have tied health centers.
Very well.
That when you get this money, that is what you do. So you need to be able to fill that loss. And that is what brought in the special petroleum tax. Now, in 2018 budget, the government told us that we are expecting to sell our oil at $57 per barrel. The oil that we produce. Currently, it's about $70 per barrel. Government is therefore making a surplus. Government is not selling at a loss. Government is selling it at a surplus. So that tax to fill in the gap, we don't need it. And therefore, the special petroleum tax becomes irrelevant.
Who doesn't need it? The government of Ghana needs it.
No. You see?
We need the money.
No, but the people. So you don't look at you getting the money. You look at the purpose for which the tax was brought and the impact of the people.
Well, George will tell you, it's
today,
just another social intervention program.
Today,
everybody's enjoying that.
Social intervention vis-a-vis impact on a lot of things because petroleum prices
not everybody
are
who has
inelastic.
a child in school has a vehicle. So if you know you can afford a vehicle, at least then you can pay extra.
Not only
that's what the developed countries do too.
Not only those who have vehicles. Commercial vehicles are impacted. And you know GPR to you has a limit. So the more you increase, 5%, 2%, when it hits the threshold, they are going to increase fuel prices, the fare by 10% or 15%. So we shouldn't look at it, GPR2 is not increasing prices, because they have a threshold. And once you hit the threshold, they will hit you with increased transportation prices.
So you are advocating, just like many other people
on this government to take off the special petroleum tax, which is about 46 pesos on every liter.
Okay, so but at the end of the day, we have a ESLA. We've bonded ourselves with what we've gone to take. We have a special purpose vehicle for it, so it becomes a great indicator for us. But we have various price or indicators. So we look at what the trend is around the world and how the prices are trending on the commodities market. So it means that we have to move with the times. But the people seem to be feeling the hardship more. The ordinary person who doesn't have a normal car, but who bought the commercial transport to wherever he or she wants to go, would be feeling the pinch at the end of the day.
I mean, I agree what you're saying, and it will be wrong on my part to be insensitive to the price hikes that are happening at the pump. We all know that that sector is currently deregulated, okay, and it's not necessarily, it's not the government that determines the price point. I agree with 90% of what my brother has said, but one thing that he failed to do, and he was very, very smart in not adding that when he was building his argument, is that we are a net importer of crude. Okay, so if we are no, we are a net importer of crude. We export less than we import. Okay, so we are a net importer of crude. That is a fact of the matter. So if the price of crude goes high and we are exporting 10 barrels, we get the windfall of the 10. But if we are importing 100, we still need to pay the differential of the 100 that we are importing. You understand the argument?
Very well.
Okay,
Very well.
So that is the bottom line. You understand? We are a net importer until such time that we improve or increase our capacity to export or to process crude locally. Okay, and that is exactly what was in the budget, the reason why we're looking at putting in place infrastructure to be able to process the crude locally, so that we can wean ourselves off some of these challenges that are hurting us. Okay, and the argument of the taxes, I think is a fair consideration. I mean, we need to, even if it's not a matter of removing it 100%, we need to put things in place to be able to alleviate some of these uncomfortable situations that Ghanaians may be experiencing, even though they are benefiting from free SHS, even though they are benefiting from the reduction of electricity tariffs, even though they are benefiting from the restoration of nurses and teachers training allowances. Okay, I mean, we need to reconsider. I think Ken, in the last budget statement, did give some kind of an indication that that we'll be looking at what can be done as far as the taxes on petroleum is concerned, so that we can bring it down. And I think that with time, these issues will be addressed.
But at the end of the day, you get to the pumps, and we look at the type of deregulation we're undertaking. It's not a full deregulation, is it?
No.
Okay.
Like, we still have other products the government still subsidize. Fishermen,
the
premix, and all that is being subsidized. So that's why I said it's not total deregulation. And we must be careful. One, my brother indicated the payment of nurses and teachers alone. They are calling for you to pay because there's arrears over the period you haven't paid. So that is one. So two, we must know what is for what. And that is why in every tax that you bring to Parliament, there is a purpose for it. We must be very clear. It doesn't mean that you bring a tax and say, oh, I'm going to take this tax to fill potholes. Then when the money comes, you use it to pay allowances.
We know it is wrong, but it is not unusual.
But Roland, I'm not sure that he's suggesting that is what I said.
No,
no, he's not saying that's what
because you related that difference.
No.
You to payment of allowances.
No. You missed the point. You missed the point.
Two, we must know that if we took our total oil export from Ghana, it's a net exporter. And I monitored this yesterday on City as well. Last year, our total export was 2.4
million barrels.
Yes. No, $2.4 billion total. I mean, whatever we produce in Ghana.
Very well, very well.
However, our total import was about 1.4. So that difference.
Roland, I think with these things, your producers can check.
No,
okay. As far as
but that's okay. But so some of these cross-subsidy levies are always available, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Two, we must know that the ordinary Ghanaian suffers And therefore, when you say deregulated, deregulation goes to the extent whereby the international wealth market determines the price, not when government is unable to control the cedi. So assuming that the international factors remains constant, but our cedi continue to depreciate as it's depreciating, whether we like it or not, petroleum prices will go up.
What do you suggest?
And therefore, government...
Mr. Mutawakil, what do you suggest?
What I'm saying is that...
The cedi is not doing well.
It's not doing well.
It's not doing well against the US.
That is why...
But that's the reality.
That is the reality.
That's the reality.
But the point I'm making
also,
is that why should now...
As of now, the last
ordinary
5 hours,
consumer...
Crude is now about $77,
yes,
so to speak. And it depends on if you want Brent or the other one. You always get at 68.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, government and as well as the oil marketing companies need to make a decision.
Now, what is happening is that when the cedi start dangling and running, and we are not able to catch it, Ghanaians will still be suffering by paying more for our fuel products, when in fact that is not determined by international well market price. And that is what we are going to.
So your argument is that we're saying this is deregulation, but you're saying the factors that are triggering these price increments are not necessarily
it's not international.
External factors.
No, they are not.
Because
they are within.
Because of our inability to
control the cedi.
Okay.
And Baumia is still running around looking for
would you say government perhaps put in some more subsidies? Because at the end of the day, we'll put in the subsidies, but we'll have some repercussions as well. We'll have some build-up.
Well, I think that, I mean, what needs to be done is a review of these tax build-ups, okay, and to look at what can be done to cushion the end user, because once fuel prices go up, and like you said, it crosses the threshold of tolerance where the transporters can keep their price points, then once transportation fares go high, it's going to affect food, okay, and then the entire chain of activities that affect the individual's lifestyle are impacted.
Within government circles, are you worried? Because this could also trigger the spare parts dealers to be complaining. We'll have the GPRTU and even the market women in Agboploshi.
Well, you see, the thing is that I'm not sure that it has affected transport fares now, okay?
You don't think it will very soon?
We need to put in place the right measures to address the situation, okay, so that it doesn't adversely affect transport fares and it doesn't adversely affect the quality of life of Ghanaians. Ghanaians voted for us to bring change. Ghanaians voted for us for opportunity for them to be prosperous, okay? And I believe that we are still committed to that. So yes, there are some external shocks. I mean, the situation of the cedi is not as a matter of the supposed incompetence, okay, of the administration. Indeed, if you look at all the economic indicators, okay, they are all pointing positively. And recently, with the ratings, the international ratings that were done, we moved from a B- to a B. There are some reasons why the dollar seems to be strengthening versus the cedi. There's the global trend and against major currencies, I mean, including the South African rand, including the the peso, I mean, all these things. I mean, the level of depreciation year to date have been sometimes some of them in the range of 40%, sometimes 16%. Ours has been 7%. There is panic withdrawals, or there are some reported panic withdrawals from the banks, and people converting these as a result of the cleanup that is taking place in the banking sector. So some people are getting worried that their deposits may not be safe, okay, which every bit of assurance has been given from the central bank, okay, every bit of assurance has been given from the banking sector itself, every bit of assurance has been given from the economic management team, and every bit of assurance has been given from the vice president himself. Okay, so this panic withdrawals and buying dollars is also putting pressure on the city. Okay, it's a matter of demand and supply. You understand? So once this panic buying of dollars is taking place, then you have a situation where the dollar is rising, compounding the challenges that are happening globally. But that said, we need to put in place the right measures. We need to reassure investors in Ghana. I mean, the ratings, the revised ratings that we have received is a good assurance, okay, to build investor confidence. We need to reassure depositors, okay, that their deposits are safe and that there's no need for these panic withdrawals, okay. And indeed, if as an economy we are a net importer, okay, of goods and services, then there's always going to be a situation where our Ghana cedi is going to be significantly dependent on some of these external factors.
It looks like we're keeping long in trying to shore up or improve the various indicators or subsectors of the economy that could strengthen.
No, as far as the indicators are concerned, they are trending positively.
Yeah, true.
Okay,
but
I mean, we are trending positively. We need to accelerate the process of moving from a taxation-led economy to a production-led economy.
It's still staying in the books.
So that we are dependent on what we are producing internally, and we are not dependent on going to source for the US dollar or the yen to go and secure goods and services for our country. And this is a basic fact. I'm not sure that he's going to deny it. Okay, so we are all part of the solution, and we shouldn't try and play politics with something like this.
Yeah, it's good, but there are some few things I have to point out.
Okay.
First and foremost is the fact that the cedi depreciated more than 7%. Bank of Ghana 2016 was about 4.18, which is about 4.2. It's about 5 now, so it's about 19%.
I said year to date.
Year to date. Then the second one is, I'm happy that my friend and the MPP now appreciates these think tanks when they rate Ghana. This is Moody's rating of Ghana on the October 3rd, 2016. And this is the flag bearer then and now president.
It's 21.
2016, October. This is JoyNews. Moody's rating of Ghana's economy inaccurate.
And what was the rating then?
Because it was rated from negative to B3. So the same standards at that time, our president.
So you're saying what's good for the.
Our president now disputed it. Now the cedi, when you come to cedi, he also made a point that we're moving from taxation to production. I think we've abandoned that mantra long time ago. We are going back to taxation.
And you were in Parliament. Which tax has been? Which new tax has been
this
introduced?
midterm media budget, you brought the luxury tax, where you have been affected, I'm affected. Anyone earning beyond 10,000 is being taxed. And now, as MPs, 2,000, we have vehicles, luxury vehicles, where you are being taxed every year. So even if you buy your vehicle, that is luxury.
You're saying the quantum of tax,
every year you are being taxed.
Taxation is
so more of tax is coming in than more of production. Let me now go to more. I want us to analyze some few things.
Let me address this.
Just keep your point.
Let me just end. Now, the president says Agric is doing well, planting for food and jobs.
They've created
Meanwhile,
745,000 jobs.
Let me.
I'm sure your constituents are beneficiaries.
Jobs. Now, if Agric is doing well and production increases, a bag of maize, the ordinary Ghanaian that used to cost 120 cedis in 2016, in some parts of Ghana, northern part is about 200 cedis. You come to southern part, it's about 250 Ghana cedis. The economy is doing very well. When all sectors of the economy...
verify these figures, though.
You go and verify. I buy most often, so go and verify. The industry is doing well while you are not able to... if you produce more, that means less import. Are you getting my point? That is less import. Because you are now producing... As far as
the balance of trade is...
that will have impact on the CD. But that is not what we are explaining.
But he said that it's not accelerating enough.
Let me come. When you say the economy is doing positive, and not only the media sector, people are being laid off, the oil and gas industry sector, people are being laid off, and many other sectors, we don't call this economic growth. No. Because economic growth should create more job opportunities, not laying off more workers. In 2016, 2014, 2015, yes, people were being laid off, but we knew that the Dumso was one of the critical factors.
And they've solved it.
And no, we solved it before they came in.
Okay.
We all know that gold prices were down. We all knew that at that time, cocoa prices were down. So the situation then, by the time we left office, that is why in 2016, Moody's gave us a positive indicator that we moved from B1 to B3.
Based on
that
projections.
And which the flag bearer, now president, said it was inaccurate. So President Mahama and the NDC had been able to move us from serious challenges to a sound footing before they came. So when they claim the power sector, they have done very well. They cannot tell us, one, in terms of additions, two, in terms of liquidity. It is because of the ESLA we passed that is giving some liquidity to the system. So,
but there's free SHS.
we have to be very clear with the fact that free SHS did not start under their regime.
It's okay. We're not here to make an argument about free SHS. Please conclude for me. Let's move on to...
For my good friend, who is a social democrat, okay, to be arguing on some of these social interventions is quite a bit of a concern. Okay. Now, let me establish something. We have a situation where, like you have said, there are social interventions that are being put in place. We are not saying that as far as Ghana is concerned, we are not facing challenges. There are tangible interventions that have been put in place that Ghanaians from his constituency are benefiting from. Okay? And I'm sure that he 100% agrees that these interventions should continue. We have a situation where the CD is facing a number of challenges, and I have explained some of the variables that could be contributing to the situation of the CD. However, when as a government we take those tough decisions, like cleaning up the banking sector, banks that had for the longest time been operating in this country, and the directors have been doing the wrong thing, sometimes with the connivance of people in high places. And the government has supported the governor of the Bank of Ghana and his team to put in place this cleanup program. I'm not sure that it is fair for anyone to sit down and blame the government for the job losses that are being experienced as a result of cleaning up the banking sector. You can look at the glass as half full or half empty. If the cleanup didn't come, okay, how would these issues be sustained? So we have had to take the tough decision, and I think that this is a matter of importance for all Ghanaians, irrespective of what political ideology you believe in. what has happened in the banking sector is what is good for Ghana, and is what will continue being good for Ghana. We are sanitizing the banking sector. There will be challenges. What we have to do is to create opportunity for those people that are going to lose their jobs to get into.
But that's the point. That these things are ongoing, so you don't draw the conclusion
And
that
he narrowed
everything is well.
He narrowed it
But
to banking.
I don't think that every. Can I land?
I think
Can I
you
land?
just choose banking.
Okay.
But so that's
I
his
don't-
point. That
I
you
don't-
don't.
I don't
all
think-
these scenarios you've just
my
brought
brother,
up. You
my
don't
brother,
then
my
make the
brother.
conclusion everything is well with the
My
economy.
brother, I'm not sure that anybody has said that everything is well. We had said the economy is on a sound footing.
It is.
We are trending positively as far as the economic indicators are concerned. Okay, and it's not true when he's saying that they left the economy, on a sound footing. When we talk about the electricity, okay, he's saying that we should show 1 megawatt that has been added. Does it make sense for us to invest in increasing generation capacity when we are over-equipped as far as generation is concerned? The issue of Dumso had nothing to do with generation capacity. The issue of Dumso had to do with distribution and ability to pay for the crude to be able to fire the turbines to generate because we owed. Okay, and this government has done the prudent thing. Not once has there been a situation of Dumso because of the prudent management that has been put in place by this government. Okay, we are not interested as of now in terms of increasing generation. It is not a priority. You have overcapacity. Okay, you've invested in overcapacity. You build plants and you get plants that are sitting there idle. Okay, and you don't have any crude to fire up these machines. Okay, and that is why you had the situation of Dumso. Okay, and we have fixed it. Okay, we have fixed it, and Ghanaians know that we have fixed it. Okay, so to summarize, economic indicators are pointing positively. CD is under a bit of pressure. Okay,
it's under a bit of pressure. It's under a lot of pressure.
CD is under a bit of pressure.
It's under a lot of pressure, sir.
CD is under a bit of pressure, okay, due to some of these factors that I have explained. And I am most certain that the economic management team is doing the right things. And indeed, if the economic management team had not been doing the things that we are doing, and if it was a different administration, we would have been worse off. We would have been worse off. Okay, so we're doing the right things, okay, and we'll make sure that we deliver on the expectations.
Okay, so if I get a conclusion, the thing is, it's always going to be terrible, but yours is the best way of managing the terrible state. They would have managed it worse off.
Well, what I'm saying is we have a situation that the MPP administration is managing. We are managing it to a level that would turn out for the good of Ghana.
Okay. Over the last 24 hours, it's been brought to our notice here at JoyNews. We've intercepted a document indicating that from 2015, there were a number of transactions that took place between BOST, the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company, and then the presidency, specifically the Chief of Staff's office. There were a number of letters or communication that directed monies to be transferred into an account bearing the name of the Chief of Staff.
His name or the official
the name of the office.
Yes. So
I'm not talking about the individual.
That is
very well.
It must be made clear.
And I know that account will be at the Bank of Ghana, logically. And the transactions, well, from First Atlantic, as boss said, to the Chief of Staff's account, so to speak. But if you look at the regulation of the law, there's nowhere stated in the law that says that you have an annual budget allocation at the presidency. And so if you have any shortage or you think you need more, you have to go into the account of any public institution to get a transfer into the presidency or its account or related?
Yeah, thank you very much. That is why the first and foremost thing I asked is that was it transferred to the Chief of Staff personal account?
No.
And it is clear that it is an official account. 2, where is there a communication official so that you can track it? Are you getting my point? If it is something that is where there wouldn't be any form of official communication. 3, the government in power has the opportunity to go further to find out how that money was used. Are you getting my point? We must be very clear with that. There are instances where GNPC had to pay $100 million to BOST. By law, it is not in GNPC that paid this. But once you can track and ensure that that amount is used for the purpose for which it was taken, the records are there. So I thought that the government by now would have been able to track it to see whether the Chief of Staff paid the money personally to his accounts or it was used for governmental or for official purpose. So we must be very clear with that. So when they come out, Chief of Staff did A, B, C, D, I looked at it and laughed. Because the impression is being created that the Chief of Staff just asked that, okay, transfer money to my personal account. If it is an official account, MPP is in government, they can go detailed to find out how that money was used. And where there are fringes on the law, they should go ahead and stop ranting. They should prosecute if they think that that amount, what has been done, was wrong. That is why they are in power.
So you do agree that the transaction and the way it took place was unlawful?
It is not unlawful.
Well, but let me ask, BOST,
Yeah.
after they've done all their expenses and done all their allocations based on what their budget is for the year, and they've published their P&L at the end of the financial year, whatever remains needs to go to the consolidated fund.
Not the, you see, it is when the capping came, because every institution, be it a university or so, can have maintain their IGF.
Yeah.
Then at the end of the year, the Bank of Ghana can swipe most of the balances.
I'm not saying that whatever it is that they earn has to go into the consolidated fund. There's a certain threshold. There was a directive from the Minister of Finance, I remember vividly, that SOEs, as well as other public institutions that made more than enough at a certain threshold, you pay the dividend appropriately. And from 2015 or 2014, BOSS had been trading in a way.
As far as I'm in the energy sector, and we go through the annual budget and end, I haven't seen where they said that this was what we raised.
So at what point should we have the Chief of Staff?
If emergencies arises, the presidency...
Where in the law does it state that we need to have an emergency?
No, that is why I'm saying that...
That's flat in the regulations.
No. GNPC paid 100 million to BOSS to settle his debt. Are you getting my point?
Very well.
The most important thing is that was it used for the purpose for which it was intended? Very important. If the presidency writes to an institution that support this amount for us to undertake this project, and it is officially done, that is why the records are there. If it had been a dubious transaction, we wouldn't have been able to trace any record. Okay. So the record gives any government that comes to power the opportunity to follow it to the logical conclusion.
Interesting times. Very, very interesting times. I don't know whether yesterday you had the opportunity to listen to Senor, the chief executive of the BDCs, when he was interacting on this subject matter. Now, the amount of money that was transferred and the description that was given to that amount of money the BDCs have come out clearly to deny that there's any such description. Okay. Number two, there is no law that allows BOST to make those transfers as a result of their activities. Number three, neither the presidency nor the office of the chief of staff can access money that is not budgeted for them, that did not go through parliament, for whatever expenditure. It is clearly illegal. Okay, so these facts must be established. And indeed, I'm happy that there's a petition, okay, that has been sent to the office of the special prosecutor, and the investigations would go on. For now, this is the information that has been put out there. And indeed, if this is the case, then it is clearly illegal, it is clearly criminal, and whoever it is that has been involved in these activities must be made to face the full rigors of the law.
What do you mean by it's criminal?
It is an illegality, okay, to transfer money, okay, through an account that has not passed through parliament, and for any expenditure thereof to happen.
Now,
okay,
now for the documentation we've cited,
yes,
we're not told what those tranches of transfers that went into the chief of staff official account were used for. And they started doing the transfer, I believe, way back in 2015, and then the election year, of course, 2016.
Yes.
We've not been told.
So that is why the Office of the Special Prosecutor is carrying out its investigations. But no matter what, once it is not a budgeted for expenditure, and it didn't go through Parliament, okay, you cannot have those expenses being made. Okay, it wasn't in any media review. Okay, it wasn't in any presentation that was sent to Parliament. Okay, so I mean, for now, as far as the information that is out there is concerned, it doesn't look good. Okay, let us wait for the Office of the Special Prosecutor to come out with the rest of the facts of the matter, and then the right prosecutions will take place.
But according to a letter that was signed by the former chief executive of the place, Kwame Wadako, the monies, these transfers were monies accrued from the security fees taken from BDC's invoices to effect payment on the cost of petroleum products supplied by GOIL. The BDCs say that nothing exists of the sort. Up to now, there's nothing.
As far as I'm concerned, first of all, he's using the law. Let me just set a very good example. In 2018, we provide for $45 million to GMPC to pay its equity financing, approved by Parliament. Minister of Finance transferred $78 million. Do you get my point? I'm just giving...
Approved by Parliament.
We approved 45.
Yes.
Minister of Finance transferred $78 million. If you want federal record, go to ASEP, their annual bulletin, page 11, is clear. The difference yet to be accounted. Two, it is a known fact that when the oil revenue is taken and you spend, you have to disclose. As we speak today, our oil revenue, 400 million. The finance ministry hasn't come out with where that money is. By law, they should have proved beyond reasonable doubt. So that one is there. And I'm happy that he picked this aspect and forgot of other aspects Senor Jose said when they investigated this contaminated fuel, whereby 671,000 barrels got missing. And the boss is telling us, current boss is telling us it's as a result of evaporation, which is not true. That is a very illegal issue. The problem he spoke also was whereby NPA lock up this contaminated fuel at Zoop's oil tank. And they opened the seal, emptied the tank without the knowledge of NPA and even BOST. That is an illegal transaction.
Okay.
So if they are tracing this one, there are more things to be. Because if there is a documentation you can take, the government, you are
So
in
now
power.
it's equalization.
That is why I stated first. The government is in power and have all the tools to be able to follow it to the logical conclusion. That's why I made it that clear.
This one is it's like
if there were no documents,
O-level joke that you went to learn about the frog, and the way you go is the tilapia. So
it's about your selection.
You need to talk. What selection?
I just want to show you.
I spoke specifically to this issue.
No.
Okay, and I made references to what Senor said specifically to this issue.
And I said he spoke a lot, and I want people to
focus
know.
on this issue.
And the point is that it is not budgeted. And it was done.
And you are saying it's not untoward?
It's not untoward. And I'm giving you
not something that
other examples. It's not untoward.
So let the special prosecutor finish his investigation.
It's not untoward.
And then we'll see who's going to be prosecuted.
But why do we have, and Senor Jose talked about, not him as an individual, but as at BDCs, they feel that, well, the political establishment seem to be abusing the role of BOST and the related petroleum entities to their advantage, to the detriment of the industry. And that we could have raked in more, or perhaps had more earnings if we had proper management, proper oversight on their workings.
Well, I think one of the things that Senor said was he did recognize the fact that as far as this administration is concerned, the management of BOST and the issues relating to BOST seem to have taken a positive turn, and he clearly said that. Okay, I believe that one of the things that he also said was that if you had a situation that BOST was involved in trading, where they buy crude at a particular price point, and then they sell it at a lower price point, it doesn't quite make sense, because the BDCs do not even do things in that direction. And he did clearly state that the new MD of BOST was putting in place a lot of changes to address this situation. So I mean, in balancing the concerns of Senor, I think that we need to also establish the fact that he did recognize that currently there are things being done to address those concerns that he has. And I personally think that as quickly as possible, those people that have been involved in some of these untoward transactions, I mean, must be prosecuted, I mean, through the law.
All right, we have to end the discussion, but let me just again turn our attention to the subject of the GIBA issue. I'm just getting some latest. GIBA says that you never consulted them. Did you consult them?
On what?
Oh, trying to bring back StarTimes to play whatever role it is following the arbitration process that is ongoing.
Well, I believe that the Ministry of Communications has a mandate, okay? We have written to GIBA that would have an engagement with them. We engaged GIBA when we were working on the revisions to the DTT policy, okay? And they did bring in their feedback. If they are saying that they haven't received a letter from us that we are going to have a stakeholder engagement session and we'll be inviting them, then that is most unfortunate, because we have written to them.
Whilst the process is still ongoing simultaneously?
The people at the Ministry of Communications are the technical people. They need to do their work before we involve third parties.
All right, and then the GIBA seems to fear that we seem to be ceding our airspace, or perhaps airtime to an entity that could have an overriding interest in terms of its socio-cultural interests, our national interests, for example.
GIBA hasn't got any basis for that position. I've told you there's no intention of StarTimes managing the DTT platform. Okay, so it's baseless, a baseless concern.
GIBA, are they a third party? Were they not, from the beginning, part of the whole process up to now?
They're a stakeholder, yes.
And you had to only write to them? You didn't compel them to come to a sitting, even though you know they're expressing these grievances?
But while we write to them, we tell them that we're going to have a stakeholder session where we would involve them in it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. At least that intention has been made. They are, as far as the Central Digital Transmission Company is concerned, They know that GIBA is represented on the board.
After a decision has been taken, or there are ongoing discussions with
it was
StarTimes?
part of the DTT draft policy that they provided input into. Okay, and so they are aware that they are part of the board of the Central Digital Transmission Company. So if you know that there's a company that has been registered, then you are part of the board of that company. Okay, and the company would have to be operationalized. And when you come and say that all those arrangements that have been done, of which you've been a part of, okay, is not a form of consultation, and you pick some information from the sky, which is baseless, and you say that we're going to give the management of the DTT platform to StarTimes, which is totally untrue. I mean, and I've said over and over again that it's about an opportunity to enhance the network so that more broadcasters can have the opportunity to put their content for Ghanaians to experience.
Or enhance the network, for which we already have KNET, which rightfully has won a contract following the abrogation of the first one. What is StarTimes coming to do differently?
StarTimes are coming to, I stated at the beginning of the program that the current infrastructure that we have has provision for 40 channels, standard definition channels. There are so many requests that the NCA has received. There is no more scope to give additional broadcasters the opportunity to put out their content. There are no regional broadcasters with the current arrangement. Okay, what we are looking at is having to enhance the network, having to increase the number of multiplexes that we have so that we can have a backup to the system, having to improve the software that we have, okay, having to even add solar, okay, as a backup source of energy to the transmission sites, okay, and having to produce to build the creative studio for creative production. I mean,
you know that there are no more outlets or channels available. 40 for Ghana is enough. Why do you invite more? Accept
what is the basis? What is the basis for saying that 40 is enough?
You tell me.
Well, that's what I'm telling you.
Because we have a certain spectrum or infrastructure. It's full.
Yeah, but if you can enhance it and you can double the amount of broadcasters that you have, what stops you from doing that? I mean, there's a demand for broadcasters to come onto the network. Okay, what stops you from doing that? There's a sensible reason why you need a backup of your infrastructure. There's a sensible reason why you need to upgrade the software. There's a sensible reason why you need to consider solar power as an alternative renewable source of energy.
The NCA, why do you allow the NCA to give more than 40 licenses when they know that?
Well, I never said that the NCA has given more than 40 licenses. I said there's a request for more than 40. I never said the NCA has given more than 40 licenses.
Okay, so StarTimes won't be providing. What would they be providing then? Once they come in, they'll be giving. Then NCA will be giving more licenses or accepting those applications.
If we go through the right approvals, okay, and we are able to access the Exim Bank facility, then it means that we'll be able to enhance the network and do these additional things that we are talking about. Okay, more broadcasters can come. NCA can give more Ghanaians. Indeed, we can even.
Why do we need more?
But there's a demand for it.
By who?
The applications that are out there.
Even the ones here, we're not exhausting the content very well.
What, Roland? With all due respect, I mean, I'm not sure that you should be sitting down here and be saying that there's no need for additional content or additional broadcasters.
There's already a clutter in the industry. Your Ministry of Communication, you know that.
What do you mean by there's a clutter in the industry?
And
no, I'm asking, what do you mean by there's a clutter in the industry as far as TV?
You don't think there's a clutter in the industry?
I don't think
you don't
there's
think
a clutter.
that we have a certain saturation in the industry?
Roland, you are looking at a situation where you can have local broadcasters or localized broadcasters. You're looking at a situation where you can have regionalized broadcasters. Okay, so I think that the basis for the points that you're making are probably misinformed. Okay,
you're saying I'm misinformed?
I think you are misinformed, yes. Okay, there's
GIBA.
I don't know where your misinformation is coming from, but I'm saying for a fact that as of now, there are 40 channels that are fully subscribed by broadcasters. There are loads of applications that are out there. There's a reasonable.
Do we have licenses that haven't been utilized?
There may be people that have licenses.
No, do we have? Not maybe. Do we have?
Roland, with all due respect, there may be people that have licenses that may not have started transmitting. Okay, but their licenses are still valid.
Very well.
You see,
thank you very much.
The fact is that they want Exim Bank facility. Without StarTimes,
How much is the
difficult
Exim
to
Bank?
access it.
How much is the Exim Bank?
I think it's about 95 million.
Dollars.
That's the basic fact.
All right. Thank you very much. Neyi Georgianda is a member of parliament for Utu Senior West, but also member of parliament of critical committees in parliament, but also a deputy minister of communications, helping us do great discussions this morning, and member of parliament for Damango. When we have the finalization of the new regions, Damango will be part of the new
capital, possibly.
Okay, it's going to be possibly. Well, I think that I'll be getting ahead of myself. I know you are doing lobbying. And Adams Mutawakilo is a ranking member also of Parliament's Mines and Energy Committee. But let's